If I were young again. The porch creaked again, just like my knees. I laughed softly at the sound, the same one that had echoed through the years, surviving windstorms and 1,000 sunsets. It was strange how wood remembered, how it could groan in the same rhythm as your bones when time started weighing heavy. The morning sun was spilling gold across the garden, kissing the sleepy grass and the honeysuckle vines that leaned lazily against the railing. I rocked back and forth in the old swing, the air filled with that faint perfume of nostalgia that only dawn could carry, a mix of dew, memory, and longing. "Oh, if I were young again," I murmured, smiling. "I'd run till the daylight's gone." And just like that, my mind pulled me back, 50 years in a blink, to another golden morning when the world was wider and my knees didn't complain about a thing. It was the summer of '78, the summer we were alive forever. The year everything smelled like peaches and mischief. I was 17 and headstrong, always chasing the wind with my friends, Emily, Michael, and John, our little inseparable gang. We lived in a small town by the river, where afternoons stretched into forever, and nobody ever felt in a hurry. Every evening, we'd meet at the old oak tree by the church and plan ridiculous adventures. We made paper boats, raced them down the river, and argued for hours over whose floated longest. Sometimes, we lay on the grassy bank just watching clouds drift by, telling stories of the lives we were sure we would live. And then, there was Lily. Lily was quiet, but her laughter carried, soft and light like bell chimes. She joined us one July morning, when the summer rain had just started to wash the dust from everything. She wore her hair in 2 braids and always carried a book under her arm, as though she might vanish into its pages at any moment. What I remember most was the first time she smiled at me. The sky was bruised with clouds, and rain had just begun to fall. We ran for cover under the oak tree, our clothes damp, our shoes muddy. And there she was, her eyes gleaming with that light the rain always brings. She looked at me and said, "You know, David, I think the world's most beautiful when it's messy." I didn't know what to say then. I only laughed, but those words stayed with me, like a song you hum without realizing. That summer became our season of freedom. We dance in the rain. We built a wooden raft out of spare boards, convinced it would survive the flooded river. It didn't, of course. It sank halfway through. But we laughed until our ribs hurt. Sometimes we'd walk barefoot down the gravel road to the edge of the fields. The air always smelled of wet earth, and the frogs croaked like 100 tiny drums. There was no noise of engines, no news, no ticking clocks, only rain, laughter, and the occasional thunder that rolled like applause. It was on one of those evenings that Lily slipped her hand into mine. It was so natural, so quiet, that for a long moment I thought maybe I'd imagined it. When she looked up at me, raindrops on her eyelashes, she whispered, "Let's never grow up, David. Promise?" I did, and perhaps in that promise, the boy I was carved his soul into time. But time has a way of dragging you onward, no matter how fast you run. One by one, we drifted. College, cities, jobs, dreams that needed chasing. Michael went to Boston. John joined the army. And Lily left for New York to study literature. We wrote letters for years, beautiful, awkward ones, full of borrowed poetry and clumsy affection. I still remember her handwriting, like tiny vines curling across the page. Then, life took over. Letters slowed, calls faded. When I joined my father's small construction business, Days melted into a blur of bills, deadlines, and the kind of tiredness that made you forget who you'd promised to be. Somewhere along the way, news came that Lily had married a diplomat. I read the words on a crumpled paper, and for the first time in years, I felt the silence of the river again, deep, endless, familiar. Now, here I am, old bones, slow steps, and a heart that still hums the song of those days. My knees creak like the porch when the wind rolls through, and my back complains louder than it used to. But every morning, I still wake up swinging. I still imagine Lily sitting beside me, her laughter riding on the breeze. Sometimes I think of the things I never said. Sometimes I think of that promise, the one to never grow up. And in some small way, I've kept it. Because even now, when dawn stretches across the sky, I see that same boy at the riverbank, barefoot, sunlit, laughing. I feel the pulse of the earth under wet soil. I hear her voice saying, "Isn't it beautiful when everything's messy?" And I smile, because it still is. The last summer rain. One evening last year, there was a knock on the gate. When I opened it, there stood a woman with silver in her hair and eyes that hadn't changed one bit. Lily. We sat for hours on this very porch. She told me about her travels, her children, her life. I told her about Michael and John and the river that still flooded every July. When the sun melted into the horizon, she looked at me and said, "You kept the porch swing." "I kept the promise too," I said quietly. She smiled, and for a moment, time folded back on itself. The air smelled of rain again. The trees whispered, and it felt like that summer hadn't ended, only paused, waiting for us to return. The heart that keeps rambling. These days, I don't walk as far. My legs may be weak, but my heart's still strong. Every step I take feels like a memory, some smooth, some that nearly broke this heart of mine. The fire inside burns slower now, but it burns true. I've seen love come and go, friends fade like the dusk light, and dreams reshape themselves into quieter, simpler joys. But I've also learned that the sweetest victories aren't loud or shining. They are soft moments, like this one, with the breeze on my face and the world wrapped in calm. So, I'll sit here on this porch swing, watching the sun rise and set, with a heart full of stories I ain't finished telling yet. Because though the years get in my way, I still wake up swinging, because I ain't done rambling yet. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.